Campaign trail in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
From today, you both ready for this to be over?
Well, it's the most exciting time. And by the way, thanks for braving a lot of bad weather to come to interview us here in
I wouldn't miss this
Hershey,
opportunity.
Pennsylvania.
But
Thanks.
look, the crowds are out here. You had a full house, and obviously people are very excited. One week from today, do you think, all right, here it comes? Are you glad that day is finally here?
Reminds me very much of the early primaries, New Hampshire, Florida, and other places where we were running behind and we sensed this momentum building. And that isn't just my impressions, that's what our pollsters are showing, and that's what even some of the pundits are saying. Now, a lot of them have declared it over, as you know, but some of them are saying that.
There's actually a media study that shows that you have had extreme media bias in this. We'll get to that in a minute. Mrs. McCain, you said he's always calm. I'm always a wreck. So it's a little tougher on you in these final hours?
I am, but you know, it's so fun because you know, we've worked so hard, and he particularly has just done such a marvelous job to really see this get close and be, you know, a possibility of winning this whole thing. And I'm just, our whole family's so proud of him and just so proud of the job he's done.
You know, Sean, I've campaigned in a lot of campaigns for various presidential candidates for a long time. The level of this excitement I have not seen matched. Now, how that translates into votes and victory, I can't totally predict, but I can tell you the excitement level, like we just saw in Hershey, Pennsylvania. I mean, this place was rocking. Not only for me, by the way, that Sarah Palin was here. Yep. She has ignited something really incredible in American politics, in my view.
Well, I've been on the road with her even this past weekend, and she had huge crowds and a lot of enthusiasm, obviously. Look, clearly there's been a tightening in the polls. Zogby's poll is tight. The Investors Business Daily is tight. AP is tight. The Battleground is tight. But it seems that the issue that has now tightened these polls is obviously over the economy, which has been driving this campaign now for a while, and the issue of redistribution of wealth. It first came up with Joe the Plumber in an interview on Good Morning America, and then, of course, this tape from 2001 that came out yesterday. You've used the term Senator Redistribution. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, it's very obvious from a long record of being in the far left-hand lane of American politics. That's why his clear record of being the most liberal senator in the United States Senate. We've seen that act before. We saw it, with all due respect, with George McGovern, Jimmy Carter, and others in the liberal left. They think that the solution to America's problems is to take money from one group of Americans and give it to another. Now, that has been proven to be a very bad idea in America, but also in other countries. So it's an idea that you can somehow help everybody's lives by taking the money from those who have, through hard work, through spending all their lives and building up some wealth so they can give to their kids, but more importantly, create jobs. When people in America like Joe the Plumber are able to buy his boss's business, he creates jobs and shares wealth and expands wealth that way.
It's amazing.
Rather than saying, you can't have this money, I got to give it to somebody else.
It is amazing how Joe the Plumber, you know, everywhere I go, and I saw signs here today, I'm Sally the homemaker, I'm somebody the bartender, and I hold up signs whenever I go. I'm Sean the loudmouth talk show host.
You know, it's amazing. This Joe the Plumber event has really been a catalyst. It really has. You know, we look back on political campaigns. I paid for this microphone, Mr. Breen, Ed Muskie crying outside the union leader or whatever it was. You know, there are moments when something happens, and clearly Senator Obama going to Joe the Plumber's driveway and him getting an answer that clearly he didn't like. And by the way that they attacked him, please.
When they've gone after him pretty hard, they've mocked him on the campaign trail. There's been apparently issues of investigating his background, and I thought Governor Palin had it bad at one point when they sent a mini army up to Alaska to investigate her. Well,
if anybody in the media, much less Joe the Plumber, asks a tough question, then they're boycotted, they pull their ads, etc.
Well, I want to get to that because Senator Obama said it's a tragedy, quote, that redistribution of wealth was not pursued by the Supreme Court. And
well, that's what's scary. You know, a lot of people believe that there's going to be 3 vacancies on the United States Supreme Court. And some of the thoughts and writings and statements by Senator Obama about how it's the job of the judiciary to be, quote, redistributive. But I think, let's fast forward up to just a short time ago, Senator Obama opposed Justices Roberts and Alito, and he said on ideological grounds. Now, Sean, true confessions, I voted for Justices Breyer and Ginsburg, not because I agreed with their philosophy, but because they were qualified to serve.
Even though
I had strong disagreements with their ideology. Now Senator Obama wanted to filibuster the Roberts and Alito and oppose them because of their, quote, conservative views. Look, are they qualified? Of course Roberts and Alito are. And so I think, frankly, this is really revealing to Americans who understand the importance of Supreme Court justice.
Well, it's obviously a big issue in the campaign. There may be 2, or as you point out, as many as three vacancies on the court. Let me ask you a couple of simple questions about this redistribution of wealth, or Senator redistribution. Is it socialism?
Certainly, it's part of the socialist creed. I mean, philosophy is to share the wealth. Now, if Senator Obama is a, quote, socialist or not is something that I'll let those theoreticians decide. But the fact is that it's a far left liberal view that you need to take money from one group of Americans and give it to another, to take people who have built up through their labor and their hard work and their dedication to the free enterprise system and take it away from them. Now, of course, we have an obligation to take care of citizens in our society who can't care for themselves. That's why we have those programs, those safety net programs. But you know, those safety net programs, a lot of Americans pay into Social Security. They pay in to a number of those programs. So the point is, yes, a society and government takes care of citizens who need our help. That's what America's all about. But nobody that I know of who framed our Constitution had any thoughts that we would take money from one group of Americans and give it to another.
Well, I want to examine this in a little bit more detail. I have a lot of questions for you, Mrs. McCain, too, today. But, you know, 40% of Americans, for example, the bottom 50% of wage earners...
Pay no taxes.
Well, 40% pay no taxes. The bottom 50% pay 2.9%. The top 10% pay 70%. Those are the IRS numbers, most recent numbers. We almost have redistribution already. But under the Obama plan, as I understand it, the 40% that pay no taxes are going to get a check.
Yeah. Just get a check. Just the government's going to give them some money.
Is that
Where
welfare?
does the money come from? It comes from a printing press, but eventually it comes from
people
and future generations of Americans. We've already run up a $10 trillion debt. Look, this is just remarkable. And remember, it was 250,000. Then quietly his campaign came out and said, well, now it's 200,000. Then somebody figured it out in the Wall Street Journal that it's 140-some thousand. Then we go back into history, and Senator Obama has voted to raise taxes on individuals making 42,000.
That was last year.
Yeah. And then Barney Frank says, we're going to find a lot of rich people out there to tax. And they said they're going to cut defense and raise taxes. What? We got a sneak preview.
And coming up, more of my sit-down interview with John and Cindy McCain. Now, it seems that the senator is more than okay that he and Governor Palin do not always agree. In fact, he thinks it's a good thing. Find out why after the break. And still to come, Newt Gingrich